Just one more gut feeling story. Years ago, I was a spear fisherman, and I used to enjoy diving off the California coast with my good friend Glenn Peck. Glenn and I had our spears, and we would free dive off the kelp forest, the beautiful kelp forests off of Santa Barbara. And we went off after a number of different types of game fish, but our prize, the one we were after the most and the one we caught the least, was the yellowtail. And one day, Glenn and I were out at this one of our favorite kelp beds, beautiful place. And we had separated. He was going to one side of the kelp forest and I was on the other side. And this kelp forest was amazing. The water clarity was fabulous that day. We were in about 40 feet of water. The canopy of the forest was above us. And there would be basically windows where in the breaks in the canopy where light would shine through in shafts, and a rocky bottom on the below, 40 feet down, and we would rest on the surface, hyperventilate a little bit in order to improve our ability to stay under longer, lift our legs with the big fins that we had and our big giant Rife spear guns, and descend down into the depths and course through along these canyons very slowly, big swooping strokes of our fins. And you could do this for hours, and it was very meditative and very relaxing. And I was a terrible spear fisherman. I would, get a line of sight on the most beautiful fish and have the perfect opportunity. I just couldn't pull the trigger. It was just too beautiful an animal. Well, anyway, this one day we were out at this bed, and Glenn, like I said, Glenn was on one side and I was on the other. And we had been out for several hours and just diving down in these cycles and coursing along through the canyons down below and through the trees. I mean, very similar to these stalks of trees behind me in the forest, the kelp strands coming up from the bottom and making a huge canopy above. It's just so beautiful. Anyway, I wasn't having any luck. I hadn't caught any fish, and had been just kind of coursing along, enjoying the time. And when I'm like this, I rarely ever look around. You get, like I said, you get in kind of a meditative state, and it's very relaxing, and it's almost a tunnel vision some way. You just kind of see what's ahead, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I had been going along at this rate, just like this, and at this one moment, I just felt this urge to look around. Something I rarely did. I rarely looked back, because it's rather difficult to turn around when you're doing this. And I stopped and kind of moved around back and looked back behind me, and there it was. The biggest shark I had ever seen diving. I had been diving for years off the California coast, and there are some big sharks out there. It wasn't a great white, but it was something and it wasn't a blue shark. It was much bigger than a blue shark. It was very big, and it was right back there, probably 30 feet back. The visibility was fantastic that day, and it was following me. It was just back there, coursing along behind me as I was coursing along after game fish. That shark was coursing along right behind me. Well, made way to the surface, popped to the surface. I wonder if Glenn remembers this. And popped to the surface and looked around, looked for Glenn's snorkel, and just yelled at the top of my voice, "Glenn! Shark!" And we both raced into the shore, and that was the end of our diving excursion for that particular day. I didn't see the shark again when I poked my head back underwater. It had moved on. But there was another example of a sensation that told me to do something. I listened and was rewarded with potentially a vision that may have prevented the damage to life and limb. Okay, there you go. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.